Climbing Mount Everest is the Everest of climbing achievements. And while it may be bogged down with LA-level traffic jams and literal tons of poop these days, it's still no doubt a hell of an accomplishment to reach the top. Only 6,000 people have ever summited Everest, while 310 have died trying. Given this level of difficulty, training to climb Mount Everest is no joke. I took the training program from Mount Everest veteran Alan Arnett and tried it for a week. And like all good training programs, this one has different stages. The first stage is getting into a good cardio baseline. The second stage is boosting your cardio and strength. And the final stage is maintaining that cardio and strength while recovering a bit to prepare for the big climb. I picked stage 2 because it's the most challenging. Today is strength training. And as you might expect, it's heavily geared towards the legs. I'll be doing 3 sets of 100 step-ups per leg. This exercise is really good, not just for strength, but also for stability, which is, of course, incredibly important when climbing Everest. The last set of 100 took me 10 minutes to complete, so it's 30 minutes of just this. This is really hard. This sucks. 199, 200. Next up is 3 sets of 20 lunges. My legs are so tired from that. Fortunately, the only other exercise I have today is 3 sets of 20 bicep curls at 20 pounds, so about 9 kilos. Mount Everest is almost 29,000 feet high. That's almost as high as Snoop Dogg got last night. One of the toughest aspects of it is acclimatizing to the altitude. Many climbers will move up only 1,000 feet per day to allow their body to get used to changes in pressure and oxygen levels. Because of that, it takes an average of 40 days to get from the base camp to the summit of Everest. Most of this time is just spent sitting around, pooping into bags, and acclimatizing instead of actually ascending the mountain. Just finished 2 miles. I just realized this is going to be the longest run I've done in like 6 months. So I just got to work on the pace, not take it too fast. Like my wife always says, but in a slightly different context, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So today I'm going to be doing zone 2 training, which is right below my anabolic threshold. What that means more practically is, as you can hear, I can say a full sentence, but I'm kind of struggling. So it's right at that level. Yeah, anyways, look at how beautiful it is here. Day 3 is the same as day 1. I've got a bit of a change of scenery today, so I'm going to be doing some step-ups at the skate park. Taking 1-minute rests between sets. That ended up being 38 minutes of step-ups. That's kind of like torture. It's just so boring. But I guess that's a lot of what enduring Everest is. I have no idea how many lunges I've done. Damn it. If you try to climb Everest, there's a 1 in 20 chance that you'll die. One reason for this is that rescue helicopters can't fly around Everest. The air is so thin there that helicopters won't actually gain lift from it. Then there's the crevices, the cold exposure, and altitude sickness. Before it was ever summited, mountaineer George Mallory was asked why he wanted to climb Everest, and he famously responded, "Because it's there." 2 years later, Mallory died trying to climb Everest, and his corpse is still there today. But the top prize for this sounds horrible effects of Everest is what's called high altitude cerebral edema.
So your brain is now swelling because of the hypoxia. It has nowhere to go because it's constrained by your skull. The only exit out of your skull is where your spinal cord comes down. So your brain is being squeezed out of your skull.
You know it's bad when the list of side effects is even worse than a commercial for heart medication. Alan Arnett recommends mixing up your training to keep it interesting. So I decided to do a 35-kilometer bike ride instead of a run on day 4. There's actually no way to train your body for a higher altitude besides acclimatizing once you've reached a high altitude. In his book Into Thin Air, John Krakauer described the experience of acclimatizing as pretty brutal. He would wake up 2 to 3 times each night gasping for air. Scrapes and bruises refused to heal, and then there were the gastrointestinal issues. But there are always ways to train your body for lower oxygen levels. If you want to test how well you can handle a low oxygen atmosphere, you can try this thing called the blood oxygen level test, or BOLT for short. You start by sitting for 5 minutes just to relax your body and breathe, and then grab a timer, breathe in, pinch your nose, and hold until you feel a distinct urge to breathe. So this will manifest itself as a muscle twitching or like a strong urge to breathe. It's not just the first second you're like, oh, I'd like to breathe now. It's a strong urge. But once this happens, note the time and then release your breath and breathe normally. The amount of time it took for you to get to that urge is your BOLT score. It's worth mentioning that your BOLT score should always be lower than the amount of time you can hold your breath, because you're counting up to when you feel the distinct urge to breathe, not as long as you can hold your breath. I figured you could improve your BOLT score by just holding your breath every day, but it turns out that's not how you improve it at all. The way to improve it is to breathe lightly through your nose with a constricted airflow for 5 to 10 minutes per day. You could do this constriction with a breath mask like I have, or you could just pinch your nose so that there's limited air coming in and out. That is heavy. It's gonna be uncomfortable wearing that for 6 hours. "3:30 a.m. This is when people get up to climb Everest." Oh. That's crazy. Today, we're doing a 6 to 8 hour hike, and I've got 22 kilograms, or about 50 pounds on me. Mount Everest on the summit only has about 30% of the oxygen at sea level, so I'm gonna be simulating that with this mask here that's gonna make it harder for me to breathe. I'm gonna wear this for 30 minutes.
So we're walking through this golf course. Yeah, golfers all around. It's a little embarrassing to be walking with Trent in a weighted vest and a looks like a military.
Look, I am your father. That's 30 minutes with the mask. Holy crap, it looks like a wet sauna in there. It's very humid. And my heart rate wasn't that high, but breathing is really hard. A lot of people on Everest will be taking like a step a minute because the altitude is just so difficult to deal with. So this doesn't even approximate the level of difficulty that they're dealing with. Still sucked, but sometimes you gotta embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. Horse intermission. Hey, you want some pets? Boop. You wish I had food.
Yeah, he wants an apple.
Little scritchy scratch. Boop, boop, boop. So I'll tell you what I want.
What I really, really want.
Tell me what you want.
What I really, really want.
I wanna.
I wanna.
I wanna.
I wanna.
I wanna.
I wanna.
I wanna. Can you guess how far we've gone now?
21 times.
1 half marathon. That's got to be the fastest half marathon I've ever run at 5 hours and 16 minutes. Car, sweet car. That wraps it up at 5.5 hours and 21.5 kilometers. My shoulders have hurt so bad from this weight vest for the past like 2 hours. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look how red you are.
Climbing Everest is no walk in the park.
More like a run in the park.
People who climb Everest describe it mainly as a mental challenge. So if you're wondering why anyone would ever climb Everest, I'm with you. John Krakauer put it nicely when he said, "Attempting to climb Everest is an intrinsically irrational act, a triumph of desire over sensibility." Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe or check out my channel, and I'll be back in 2 weeks with more.